Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and tonight we've got the new General's Handbook as well as the new Battletomes for the Sylvaneth and Skaven to go over. And then, with us filming literally the day after Father's Day, we're also going to show some of the prizes that my family ended up picking up for me to celebrate. So this one actually was a gift from my youngest, Lady Oleander. If anyone has not read the book Lady of Sorrow by C.L. Warner, it is fantastic and centers around this character specifically. And that book alone is actually why I really wanted this model. Now, I personally am not a big fan of white painting, especially when there's so much of it. And that's more because of how good I am at painting white versus other colors. And like white looks really good on her. But I know that when I paint her, I'm going to end up doing more reds and blacks than anything else. Mostly because I've seen somebody else already do it and it comes out looking amazing. So definitely have some big plans for her and really looking forward to building her. We're going to take a look at it, just look at the sprue a little bit here in just a sec. But then also, for anyone that shops on Etsy, you can also get this really cool bag of maggots that you can use. There's 96 unique sculpts with 200 or more maggots per bag. And you can use these easily like on bases or like especially like if you're painting something for Nurgle, these are definitely going to be great additions. And so specifically, I want them actually for a project involving some trees to basically make a custom feculent gnarl maul. But anyone that wants to get some of these, like I said, they're fantastic looking. You can get them on Etsy from Mr. Clay Rotten, and be able to get them there. But they are really cool. Really excited about those. My entire family thought I was really weird for wanting it, but I do have a lot of Nurgle things planned to be working on in the future, and knew that those would be perfect for them, especially when I get around to doing that gnarl maw. So we're going to go ahead and open up all this stuff at once just to save some time. That way we can throw all the plastic away at once. And as of this past Saturday, because this is basically going to be being published as soon as I'm done recording it. So as of this past Saturday, each of these new items are available for pre-orders. So specifically the Battletomes and the General's Handbook. And typically the week of pre-order, the code at the back is already able to be redeemed in the apps for anyone that's using them. Alright. The only thing we're not going to be opening up is that bag of maggots because you can clearly see through the packaging. And with this being a previously existing model, we're not going to do a close-up of the sprue like we've been doing more recently, but we're still going to open it up and take a look at it. Alright, so we got, looks like 2 sprues and 1 base, obviously. And it looks, looks like part of the kind of rose pattern that goes around her had snapped off in the box. That's okay, we can definitely make do with what we have. And looking at it, this model is very, very flimsy, very fragile. There's just a lot of small pieces that are just easy to break off. So you're gonna have to be very careful when trimming the sprue. And then the bulk of the two night haunts that kind of go around her are on the second sprue right here. But it is a great looking model. I'm really looking forward to doing this one. And then we have our full color assembly guide, where we have the multiple tones to show where the pieces fit much easier. And then we even have a painting guide for how to match these colors, which is really great. I know that the Citadel Color app does that as well. I don't know if it has this particular model in there, but I would bet that since they've already set that up in the assembly guide, that she's probably included in the app too. But I haven't looked, so can't verify that. But definitely a fantastic looking model. Really excited about getting to do that one next. All right, so we're gonna start with the General's Handbook. So you do have the pitch battle profiles for season 1 for 2022 to 23. Your battle tactic and tokens. I believe those are objective tokens if I remember correctly. And then the actual book itself. I love the elastic bookmark. So you can basically just, like whatever page you're on or don't want to lose, just kind of fold it in like that. And then you've got that covered. Okay, and then we also have a code to add this to the app as well. So we'll set that aside. Did not realize that the General's Handbook was going to have that. But in here, we start with the pitch battle section. We have battle plans, endless spells, core rules, and rules index. So we're going to take a look at the endless spells, see if there's anything new there to watch out for. So for the pitch battle section, looks like first it starts with the main rules as far as like setting up your army, some basic battle tactics, and how to get battle ready. So this is just more of kind of information about how this book is meant to work. And then, here's some references for being battle ready with painted and things like that. Then we go into battle plans, which is our actual basically missions or battles for your games. Like that first one was the Prize of Gallet or Gallet, I'm not sure which. So it's a place where tectonic shifts and mysterious creatures of the tunnels beneath its surface have exposed many rich deposits of amber bone. Claim these nodes for yourself whilst denying them to the foe. Here's one called Won't Back Down. So your troops will not relinquish their gains easily, a trait that you can use to your advantage. Harness your warrior's determination to safeguard the assets you manage to seize in this place. So basically you're trying to keep your spoils to yourself while the other team tries to steal them from you. And then we go into the endless spell section. So take a look here. So we have rules for the Horrorghast, Ether Void Pendulum, Chronomatic Cogs, Emerald Swarm, the Geminids, Prismatic Palisade, Malevolent Maelstrom, Purple Sun of Shaiish, Quicksilver Swords. So far, not seeing anything missing, anything new. So it looks like it's just bringing in the rules from, I believe it was like Malign Portents, if I remember right, as far as the name goes, as well as a few from the Forbidden Power set. So it covers just those rules only. Kind of surprised that we don't have the rules for the that I can't remember the name of it, that came with the Thondian box set, more or less the Spirit of Gur. So surprised that wasn't in there. So then we go into the rules section. It has a player's code section, basically kind of a rules of gaming with other people, do's and don'ts type things of how to behave. It's sad that that's actually needed. But then we go through the actual core rules of the game as a whole. Now, what's great about this is a trimmed down version of the rules as a whole. So, it's going to be a lot easier to digest in this format than getting the full rule book, like say with like the Dominion box. And then we have our rules index, which is basically like if you're looking for a specific type of rule like fly or miscast, you look for those keywords and then it gives you the actual page for those. Excuse me. Send those inside. And then the pitch battle profile. So this is where you get all of your actual points values for your different armies. So like for order, cities of Sigmar, Fire Slaters, Daughters of Cain, and so on. And then we also have obviously chaos, death, and destruction are covered in here as well. And even includes like using Mega Gargant mercenaries and things like that. So here's the Kronspine Incarnate of Gur is listed. So it is in here, but as a section called Incarnates. So that tells me that down the road we are going to see more of the Incarnates unleashed on the realms. I would say probably within the next 2 to 3 years, we're probably going to see one for each of the main realms. Now, I have not been told anything by GW. That's just me speculating. But so just to be clear, with these items currently for pre-order, if it wasn't already obvious, GW did provide these for the purpose of this video, with the exception of the items that I got for Father's Day. And so thank you to them for sharing those with us. So now we're on to the Battletomes. We have Skaven and Sylvaneth. And recently, both of them did get a couple new models each. As far as Skaven goes, besides the warband for, it wasn't Harrow Deep, I believe it's Nethermaze, was the sequel to that. Then it also had a new Deathmaster assassin, where the Sylvaneth had not only the Lady of Vines, it also had the Gossamed Archers, as well as a new unit of flying, look like kind of like flying scouts. I can't remember what they're called specifically. We will touch base on their name once we're in here. And actually, I thought I saw them. I do see the Gossamed Archers on here and the Lady of Vines, but those new ones I don't see in here, just on the back. But they did get a new flying unit as well. So Sylvaneth got more new stuff. I'm hoping that in the coming months we're going to see some more Skaven stuff as well, to go with it, because a lot of the Skaven models have not been updated in close to a decade for some. And some unit types are still only available in metal, to give you an idea for how long this army has been without some serious updates. But they do have some that have obviously been done, like as far as the newer models, like the Vermin Lord or the Hell Pit Abomination, things like that. So we're going to go ahead and start with Skaven. Skaven have always been one of my absolute favorite armies. Not sure what drew me to them back in the 90s, but they were always one of my favorites. And then with the game Vermintide, that brought back that love of the Ratmen. And with these recent releases, and as well as their Warcry army that came out last year or the year before, with all of that stuff, it's rekindling my desire and love for the army. And it actually got me talking to C.L. Warner himself, who has actually done all of the Thanquol novels except for the End Times one. And so we've actually started talking about Skaven pretty regularly, and it's always great to kind of discuss some of the lore things, especially when I'm able to with somebody who actually helped write some of that. So that was a really cool experience to get to do. And on our website, we actually have an interview with him regarding his Cursed City book. But we don't talk about Skaven too much in that. That was just more of a side thing that came from it. But again, a huge fan of Skaven. I just hope that we get to see some new updates, like some new Rat Swarm models, new Packmaster, new Storm Vermin would be great. At least some new sculpts to kind of mix it up a little bit. Maybe some new Clan Rats, because they're pretty basic and haven't been changed in forever. At least it feels like forever. Now, the first section we go through is most of our lore. So we're skipping through that. Of course, I do love the art here for Clan Pestilence, or specifically the Plague Furnaces. And on page 44, we start going into some of like the painted examples for the armies, including Bone Ripper and Thanquol. I'm actually building a Vermintide diorama, which is going to use a modified Bone Ripper in place of a Storm Fiend for the diorama. So definitely something very exciting to be working on. But that will be coming after I finish my my photo diorama that I'm working on, which is nearing completion. Hopefully just another month or two and it'll be done. And then we'll be able to start in earnest with all of the warbands and armies and stuff, especially for the Skaven. Now, this does include images of that warband I mentioned from Nethermaze, Skittershank's Claw Pack, and actually the newest issue of White Dwarf actually has Warcry cards for that warband. I love the Hell Pit Abomination. I mean, the thing is absolutely insane. It's not something that was around back when I used to play Skaven. It's a much newer model, but there are rules for it to be used in Warcry, so I ended up actually getting a hold of one and plan on doing some crazy things with it. So definitely looking forward to that. Plus the same thing with the Storm Fiends. And then we even go into a painting guide like we typically see in these. Helps you with matching some of the more standard colors and techniques. And then when we finally get to page 64, we're finally onto the actual army rules themselves. So some of the enhanced abilities. So for a battle trait, we have Scurry Away. In combat phase, when you pick a friendly Skaven hero that does not have a mount to fight, you can say that it will scurry away instead. If you do so, that hero can retreat. And then some of the Great Clans battle traits. Excuse me. So starting with Clans Molder, we have Lumbering Behemoth. This unit has a move characteristic of 7 inches. In addition, charge rolls for this unit are automatically a 7. Do not need to roll the dice. So that one's pretty cool. We have Clan Eshin, Masters of Murder, is the only one. At the start of the battle round, after determining who has the first turn, but before the first turn begins, you can pick one enemy hero on the battlefield, add 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks made by friendly clans Eshin units that target that hero. If you include 3 or more Clan Eshin's heroes in your starting army, add 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls for attack made with melee weapons by friendly Clan Eshin units that target enemy heroes. So basically, kind of giving your assassins a little bit more damage dealing when they get in. We have Clans Verminus, which is one I'm not actually familiar with, because like I said, it's been quite a while since I've actually played Skaven. We also have Clan Scryer, Clans Pestilence. So it looks like there's only just the one new clan that I'm not familiar with. And then we go into enhancements or command traits, cunning machinations, artifacts of power, spell lores, scriptures. So there we have noxious prayers, disease, filth, and rabid. Filth is a prayer that has an answer value of 3 and a range of 13. If answered, pick 1 friendly Clan's Pestilence within the range and visible to the chanter. Add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made by that unit until your next hero phase. Then we go into our Path of Glory section, which gives us all of our master plans, quests, veteran abilities, territories, heroic upgrades, as well as some of our battle plans, like Tides of Vermin, Virulent Procession, Warp, Cog, Convocation, and then we have our War Scroll battalions, those were all after Tides of Vermin, the rest were War Scroll battalions. And then we go into our new rules points for the different models, like our Vermin Lords, so there are surprisingly a lot of Vermin Lords. By my count, it looks like the same number of clans as there are Vermin Lords. Then we have the Grey Seer on Screaming Bell, Arch Warlock, Warlock Engineer. So we're looking to see if there's anything new in here besides the new Deathmaster. But I'm willing to bet that there probably won't be. That anything like that won't be announced until later. So the only new things so far that I've seen are specifically the Deathmaster and Skittershank's Claw Pack, both of which we've seen before. And then we have the War Scrolls, or then the Spell War Scrolls rather, for Vermintide, Warp Lightning Vortex, Bell of Doom, and Gnawholes for the faction terrain. And then our pitched battle reports finish us off there. And now going into Sylvaneth. Now, I know I've mentioned it before on the show, but one of my all-time favorite armies back in the day was the Wood Elves. And then when we went through the end times, we learned that the Wood Elves were just the same elves as our normal High Elves and Dark Elves that have been kind of brainwashed by the forest spirits. And now the Sylvaneth is basically those forest spirits leading their own charge from now on. So I definitely like the concept there. I like the aesthetic going back to more wood and spirit. But with the fact that there's so many spirit type things, it makes me feel like that maybe Nagash should have some sort of hold over them because they are spirits still. Not sure if there's anything in the lore that talks about that. I've never actually discussed that before with anybody else, so don't know if there's any truth to my guess, or my assumption rather. But I definitely think that there should be. But the first 39 pages are all of our lore and fluff. On page 40, we start getting into the actual painted reference information. So here we are. The Spite Riders are the new models I was referring to before. Kind of makes me think that they're meant to be like the, as well as the Revenant Seekers and Soul Wardens, that they're meant to be kind of the Sylvaneth answer to the Stormcast Eternals, new Dragon Riders. We have the Lady of Vines as well, and the Gossamer Archers that I mentioned before. And then it also does show some of the other war bands from Warhammer Underground, or Underworld rather. And then we go into our painting guide as well. Like I said, each one of these books includes that, which I really like, because anything that gives me additional tips on painting is only going to make me better, and in that same respect, should make a lot of you better as well, or at least maybe remind you of some colors to add to your palette. And then we finally get into the army rules on page 62, so about the same number of pages in. And we have our battle traits, places of power, glades, from the woodland depths, verdant blessings, seasons of war, some enhancements, artifacts of power. In those artifacts we have the Greenwood Gladius. So these ones are actually specifically boons of the Everqueen, Crown of Fell Bowers and Seed of Rebirth, Relics of Nature, Acorn of Ages, Luneth's Lamp, and Vesperal Gem. We have our spell lores, our different glades, which is kind of different factions within the Sylvaneth. So we have 7 listed there. Not really sure what the significance between each of those are, because since the Age of Sigmar started, I have not followed really anything Sylvaneth related, except for the Beastgrave book, which did have a Sylvaneth warband in there. That was mostly the focus, and so that is really my only experience really with the Sylvaneth army. So definitely looking forward to getting in here and reading more about this. On page 72 we go into Path of Glory. We also have our quests and veteran abilities, territories, upgrades, and then our battle plan and Wargrove. And then we go into match play, core battalions, grand strategies, battle tactics, and then we go into our points and rules for the models. So we're going to see if there's anything new here for the Sylvaneth besides the 3 new units, like the Lady of Vines, the Gossamer Archers, and then the Revenants and the Seekers. So we have the Warsong Revenant. That's been around for a little while. Let's see. Includes Skeleton Wild Hunt, the Endless Spells, the faction terrain, the Awakened Wildwood, and then our pitch battle profiles. So nothing new there besides the Gossamer Archers and the new flying units. And so those are actually on these 2 pages next to each other, making it easy to find. So definitely some really cool stuff in here. Now, like I always say with the Battletomes and the codices, that, you know, even if you don't play that faction or have a desire to play that faction, you know, I always recommend, you know, to at the very least read these books and learn the rules for their units, because, you know, as somebody who's played the game before, you know, knowing what the enemy is capable of will help you better plan your army and your play style around that, if you know that you're going to be playing them. So, like, you know, say for instance, you know, you're playing against somebody who tells you that they're bringing this specific army. If you have this book, you can review like what models, you know, they might bring based on the point value, and, you know, kind of get an idea for, okay, so if they're bringing this, my tactic to avoid this is going to be that. And, you know, so it allows you to kind of get an upper hand against your opponent. Likewise, they might very well be doing the same thing. So that, for that alone, it's definitely worth getting these books. But the lore contained within is typically only found within that specific faction's battle tome, at least from their perspective. And so, you know, having that, you know, gives you a lot more lore, gives you a lot more, you know, it well rounds the world of Warhammer for you, and makes it more whole, you know, more solid. So that way, you know, when you're playing in it, you know, the fights feel more real, you know, they feel like they have more of a purpose. So those kinds of things, for me, make this a fantastic game. And so, you know, having all of those books can really help both of those aspects of the hobby for you, as well as the painting guides that are in each of these two can be quite helpful to, you know, highlight special effects that you might be trying to achieve that you might be not pulling off as well as you'd like, for example. So, you know, definitely something worth picking up. General's Handbook, you know, basically the same kind of thing, but has a lot more geared towards the actual battles themselves. But definitely some great stuff in here to check out. Do recommend picking these up. Thank you again to Games Workshop for sharing these with us. We really do appreciate that. And thank you again to my daughter and my son for my new presents. I'm really looking forward to making use of both of these as well. But that's it for tonight, everybody. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Thank you.